Good evening, students. Welcome to Learning Unit 6, Tutorial Class 1. The following information is relating to questions 1 to 5. Devansh is a tax practitioner. He is completing the tax of his client, Rahala, 29 years of age. The following information were provided: salary, bonus, local dividends, rental income, and rental expenses. Contributions to retirement funds will be addressed in question 1, and the notion deduction information will be provided in question 4. Let's proceed to question number 1. Let's look at the solution to question number 1. Rahala contributed 8% of her salary and bonus towards her retirement fund. She also decided to add additional funds to a retirement annuity fund of 450 Rand per month, and her first contribution started in August 2021. In January 2022, she increased her contribution to 1,000 Rand a month. The required section is requesting us to calculate her deduction for contributions towards retirement funds. The question is, which one of the following options is correct? Let's calculate the contributions. Her salary was 300,000 plus the bonus of 31,200. You multiply that with 8% and the answer is 26,496. From August to December equals 5 months times 450, that's 2,250. And then for January and February, for the 2 months, she contributed 1,000 Rand a month. You add those three amounts, the total is 3746. Therefore, option number C would be the correct option. Question number 2. In this question, they now proceed to let us assuming that her retirement fund's contribution was 50,000 for the year and her remuneration 331,200. Her taxable income 371,321. The question is to calculate the deduction that Rahala will have for the contributions made to retirement funds. Right, let's calculate the solution to question number 2. You start off by using the limitations. It's always the lesser of, number 1, 350,000 Rand, or secondly, you take 27.5% of the higher of remuneration or taxable income. In this case, the higher was taxable income. You multiply that by 27.5%, and then the third option to use for the limitations would be taxable income excluding capital gains. If you look at the above three solutions, they are all higher than the actual contributions. Therefore, the lesser amount will be actual contributions. The total deduction for contributions made to the retirement funds will be then 50,000. The lecturers requested the e-tutors just for interest sake to provide you with information how to calculate remuneration. Kindly note that remuneration will always be provided in exams and tests, and that you'll never be expected to calculate a remuneration. For remuneration definition, you can go to your Learning Unit 6, Tutorial Letter 103, page 48 and 49. Remuneration includes salary, fees, bonuses, gratuity, pension, leave payouts, voluntary awards, commission and overtime payments. Also specifically included in remuneration is 80% of the travel allowance received from the taxpayer's employer, as well as 80% of the taxable value of the right of use of a company motor vehicle, and all the fringe benefits received from the taxpayer's employer. Let's move on to question number 3. They are asking us to assume that Rahala's allowed deduction for the contributions to retirement funds is 60,000 and the total contributions to the retirement fund was 70,000 rand. That means it's 10,000 higher than the contributions allowed. They are asking us which one of the following statements are correct. This is strict theory, but just to explain that any portion disallowed in the current year will always be carried forward to the next years of assessment and then be considered as a deduction for that specific year. Therefore, in this case, the answer would be number B. Question 4. You may now assume that Rahala's allowed deductions for contributions to retirement funds is 60,000 rand. In addition to all of this information, they are now saying that she's donated blankets worth 42,000 to Woolies, an animal shelter registered as a public benefit organization. She also obtained a Section 18A certificate for the donation. Which one of the following is correct? Alright, let's look at the solution. I just want to make it clear that a Section 18A certificate was provided, and therefore a zero amount would be deductible, would be dependent on what the limitation of 10% to a taxable income would be. Therefore, we have to proceed to calculate her taxable income before the donation is deducted in that specific sequence. Let's look at the solution now. The salary was 300,000, the bonus 31,200, local dividends 26,251, rental income 52,421. That gives you the total for gross income 409,872. From the gross income, you then deduct the exempt income, and the full total of local dividends received is exempted. After that deduction, you reach the answer for the income, 383,621. You then are allowed to deduct the rental expenses of 12,300, and then you reach the total before retirement fund deduction, 371,321. The retirement deduction of 60,000 is then limited to the lesser of 350,000, 27% of the higher remuneration or taxable income, or taxable income in total. Because the contribution was lower than the limitations above, you deduct only the retirement contribution actual amount paid of 60,000, and the total before the 18A donation would be 301,321. You calculate 10% of that amount, which gives you 31,132, and the donation limitation would be the 31,132 and not the full donation amount of 42,000 that was actually paid. The difference between the two could be carried over to the next year to add to the next year's donations, and then if this limitation isn't affecting that amount, it would be deductible in the next financial year. Let's move on to question number 5. You now may assume that Rahala's total contributions to the retirement fund was 50 and her remuneration 331,200. You are now required to calculate the taxable income for the current year of assessment. Let's look at the solution to question number 5. Up until the point of the taxable income before the retirement fund deduction, this solution remains the same that we've just done in question number 4. So let's look at the contribution towards retirement fund annuity. That will be limited to the lesser of 350,000 or 27.5 of the higher remuneration or taxable income. Taxable income is the higher, therefore we use that one. And then the third option is taxable income before the capital gains tax. Therefore, you will notice that taxable income of 371,321 equals this option. Because the actual retirement fund contribution was 50,000, it is lower than any of the limitations we've just calculated above, and hence it will be limited to the actual contribution made of 50,000. After we've deducted this 50 from that taxable income calculated above, you get the answer of 321,321 rands. The actual donation made was 42,000, but it's now limited as a deduction as 10% of the taxable income before the donation deduction. Because the limitation resulted in a lesser amount of than the donation actually made, the balance of this donation not allowed in the current year will be allowed to be taken forward to the next year. We then deduct the allowable donation amount is calculated, 32,132, and the taxable income amounts to 289,189 rands. Thank you for attending, students. We would like you to send any questions or anything that you would like us to elaborate on or provide further explanations on the eTutor discussion forum site of Learning Unit number 6. Thank you for joining us and have a good evening.